Hi, this is Starkie Sowers. Welcome to the Nutrition Mission Podcast from Clark's Nutrition and Natural Foods Market. So the idea of this, Jessica, is to bring all sorts of things to the public's view as well as to some audible situations. So if you're driving down the road or you're doing this, you can listen to some of the episodes. We're going to have all sorts of topics, everything from like tea to sports nutrition to keto diets and the popular diets of the time. You excited for this?
So excited. So make sure you guys subscribe to our channel, and you can go find us on YouTube, like Starkie said. So are you guys ready?
All right.
We're all about the Nutrition Mission.
Here's what I don't want to do is I don't want to go away without substantiating my theory, all right? So anyways, once again, still a theory, but like I said, I've gotten a little bit of research to kind of back up my moment. So there's this dude, his name is Hope Simpson, right? Not the Simpsons that you see on TV, right? This guy's Hope Simpson. There's a little bit of hope to this guy. He ends up being this self-taught epidemiologist, right? And he basically sees this solar radiation as a strong protector of influenza epidemics, and as well as viral situations. He basically says, look, here's what I'm noticing is when we actually see these pandemics and epidemics, areas that have less sunlight, it's almost like a gateway for these viruses to take off and roll. So anyways, he starts doing research. This guy writes this paper, by the way, recently. It just came out in 2022, kind of a look back. It's easy always to look back on epidemics and pandemics and go, hey, we missed the boat on some things. So I thought I'd just throw some of these things out. But anyways, he says this about when it comes to the sunlight. Remember, by the way, the sunlight hits your skin. The skin converts cholesterol into vitamin D. All right. I probably should go a little bit further. And I'll probably talk about that in a minute because there's kind of an issue with that. Remember that vitamin D has to be converted like 2 more times. And we'll talk about that. So anyways, he says this, discoverers of seasonal flu stimulus, right? Boom. Peak of flu is when winter and less sunlight exposure exists. That's when it runs rampant. And we look back at the charts. We actually saw COVID really starting to take off, like sometimes in October before we actually called it a pandemic in situations. But literally by the wintertime, it was doing its damage. And then, of course, a year later, it's still doing its damage. What was going on? Well, what was going on is the body had never seen this COVID virus before. And everyone can talk about whether it's man-made or whatever you want to do. I've got my own theories. This isn't the place for the theory. All right? So here's what it is a place for is this. When it comes to this, when it came to the COVID virus, it was novel. It was new. Our bodies had never experienced it before. It has to develop the immune system. So remember when I was telling you, when the body gets the infection, first it hits an inflammatory state. Then it basically has to go into the garage, so to speak, make the perfect fighter, send that back out in the bloodstream to fight off the virus and the cells that are getting infected with it, right? So that's what we call the adaptive immune system. So the adaptive immune system and the connection between the innate, which is the inflammation, and the adaptive immune system ends up being vitamin A and vitamin D, okay? Very critically needed to function and make the immune system function. So novel virus, going to take longer for some to get through. Obviously, a lot of craziness. We had deaths, we had mortalities, we had people to this day coming in that still have issues left over from this. So it's a very serious complication. So I'll hit a vaccine note. So somebody asked me about the vaccine. Am I positive or negative vaccine? Okay, so here's the deal. First of all, when it comes to people, one of the things we noticed, people that were being affected were individuals that, of various things. And it doesn't fit in an exact category, but elderly people, out of shape, diabetes, those seem to be suffered a little bit more. So if you're in a situation where ultimately you're needing to stay in shape, take supplements, do the vitamin A, vitamin D, checking blood levels, and staying healthy, then you're kind of robust and ready for it. Well, how many Americans are going to do that? Well, it gave a gateway, so to speak, for the vaccine because there wasn't a lot of hope for a lot of people other than, what else am I going to do? So you answer the question whether it's positive or negative. That's not my job. My job is to say one of the reasons why it became so popular and people wanted it so much is because they didn't have hope anywhere else. Now, that said, don't forget, no matter what you're doing, there's always the placebo effect. I'm sure there's a little placebo effect in there. Anyways, so let's go through this whole thing of the discovery of sunlight, right? So 1300 BC, Akhenaten, which is an Egyptian pharaoh, says sun is life-giving. So Hippocrates comes in and he prescribed heliotherapy, which is sunlight therapy for medical and psychological situations. And he also noted as the seasons changed, ultimately these things would happen where there was changes in the body, right? And he also noted that the sickness and things of that nature was literally kind of related to the sun as well. So then you end up with a couple different individuals, and I'm going to butcher their names, but this Starkie and Palm in 1882 through 1890 actually discovered that sun conditions to rickets are extremely significant. More rickets, definitely more or less sunlight. So less sunlight and less sun exposure. So increase in rickets areas, less exposure to sun and sunlight. All right. Florence Nightingale. Anyone know who that is? I mean, I had to do like a research. Heard that name a million times. Grew up in the 60s and 70s. This lady was a campaigning individual that went through hospitals going, hey, we need to change some of the procedures here because we need to like clean things. We need to do this. By the way, it's important for doctors to wash their hands in between because they'd be carrying germs. And they're like, now you're stupid. You're an idiot. You're a woman. Check it out. Women are typically more right than guys. So 1850s, bottom line, we end up with this situation. She says, sun is the key to promoting health in hospitals. We need to take these people outside. So 1849, Wilson says cod liver oils was effective in treating tuberculosis. Okay? Doesn't mean it's a cure-all. It was effective in treating it. 1903, Niels Finsen receives the Nobel Peace Prize for electric lamp and using an electric lamp for disfigured skin disorders such as like psoriasis and things of that nature. Go on PubMed. Hit up like sunlight, hit up psoriasis, and just sit there and read reams of research on it. Some positive, some negative, all right? So then, sunlight is shown to reduce arthritic pain and suffering. Cod liver oil, vitamin D connection obviously made with arthritic rodents. Okay, so the 1918 Spanish flu fatalities revealed. We actually see that direct sunlight at Camp Brooks in Massachusetts, individuals that got the direct sunlight every single day fared better than those that were not exposed to sunlight. All right, sunlight patterns in the north latitudes compared to the southern latitudes, 50% of those individuals in the northern latitudes were much more at risk for the flu fatalities in 1918 than the ones in the lower latitudes that were exposed to sunlight. So one of the things that was significant, also people that were using cod liver oil, there seems to be a link in there as well too. All right, 2021, sun therapy for COVID reduces the risk by a significant percent. Okay, what do they tell us to do? Stay inside, don't go outside. Wonder about that moment. All right, so vitamin D. Vitamin D from the sunlight, as we said, has to be literally hit the skin, has to be converted over. The liver has to take it and convert it. Then the kidney has to take it and convert it. Then you have a blood concentration. For every 100 IUs that you actually eat, basically it goes up about 1.5 to 2.5 nanomoles per liter. I told you it was going to get a little techie, so hold tight. So safe levels in the blood are about 75 to 80. And they found when those levels were there, the possibility of COVID complications were much less, okay? I'll let you go and do some research on that, but ultimately we see that there's a direct link. Finally, intervention with vitamin D at hospitals when there was a clinically low blood levels, oftentimes wasn't so significant and didn't seem to work as well. Well, one of the reasons why that seems to be more so than anything else, what happens is when you're deficient, you get the virus, it does its thing. So the big thing is you don't want to be deficient. Now, people that use aggressive therapy, it seemed to lessen the symptoms, but here's the problem. It takes weeks to get those levels up. And here's this virus running rampant while you're trying to get the levels up. Still, there was some positive negatives outcome on that, just to let you a little knowledge on that. Finally, the Endocrine Society says, here's the deal. Compelling evidence suggests that when your vitamin D blood levels are 75 nanomoles per liter, substantial reduction in infectability, morbidity, mortality from high infectious viruses. Very, very significant. So ultimately, one of my thoughts on this, more so than anything else, becomes very critical. What you might want to do is check your levels and make sure it's set. Make sure that they're at a good spot, because ultimately what happens if they're not, you're probably going to be one of those guys that's a little bit more susceptible to complications from any type of virus. Doesn't have to be COVID or anything like that. Check with your doctor. One of the things that you might want to know is this, is 70% of Americans are deficient in vitamin D. All right. So it's a critical moment. So here's the number 2 version of cod liver oil. The number 2 version of cod liver wraps around the whole idea of not only eating something for vitamin A and vitamin D and omega-3 levels, but also being maybe a little conscious with your doctor to make sure that your levels are where they're supposed to be. So what about cod liver oil? Tastes like crap, right? Okay, stuff, just gnarly stuff, right? So I came up with these ideas, and I've heard them before, and I just thought I'd try them. If we actually take some fat substance, fat products like cod liver oil digest better, right? So what I did, I got some full-fat cottage cheese. Then I mixed in there the omega-3s, or rather the cod liver oil. I used the Wiley's, and it's orange, so you can see this orange thing. So what if you didn't like cottage cheese, and I have a tendency to be, okay, I'm on the border fence with it. I got almond butter. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get Jessica to come in, and I'm going to have her guinea pig the slathers that I made up and see what she thinks. You ready? All right, so here's what I did. I just do this whole spiel about cod liver oil, right?
Okay.
So you're on the other side of the studio. You probably hear a little bit of it.
I did.
All right, so ultimately, cod liver oil just tastes bad.
Okay.
And I had you taste it one time.
Yeah.
It was a great moment.
Live.
So yeah, it was live. So what I did is I mix it with cottage cheese.
Oh, okay.
So I want you, and this is a strawberry cottage cheese.
A strawberry cottage cheese.
It is. So
Okay.
I want you to try it.
So just grab a spoonful.
Grab a spoon. There's a spoon set.
Are you gonna try something?
Oh yeah, here we roll.
Okay, ready?
Can't even taste it.
No.
Like a little bit of a taste, little oily difference, but
Just
not.
like a little oily taste.
Yeah.
I don't taste any strawberry though.
Right.
So somehow I guess like the strawberry.
Maybe maybe you got to dig deep and get it.
Okay.
Dig way deep.
Okay. Let's see. Oh, there's a chunk of strawberry.
There's a chunk of strawberry. So this is a way to make cod liver oil taste good, right? So then I mix it with almond butter. Okay.
Okay.
See how the almond butter fares.
Okay.
All right. Can't taste
fine.
it. Right. So it's like we found a way to make cod liver oil taste decent for kids. Literally, you can make them like an almond butter sandwich. They have no clue that they're eating it. Right?
Yeah. It's actually really
Mixed.
good.
It is really good, isn't it?
Take
Surprised,
another
weren't you?
bite.
I know. All right. So yeah, no, that was the deal. We talked about some of the benefits. Talked a little bit about the COVID virus, looking post at it and stuff like that.
Oh, okay.
You know, and just like basically just having the vitamin A and the vitamin D levels up, having the doctor check the blood levels, make sure that they're good. Because we do know statistically, all the way back before vitamin D was even discovered, that it had some clinical significance when it comes to the flu, colds, and viruses and things of that nature.
I have to ask you a question.
Yeah, fine.
So, because you said vitamin D. So,
Yeah.
if somebody got COVID, does that potentially, is their vitamin D levels could possibly be lower?
It's one of the things that was substantially significant with people that caught COVID. The lower the vitamin D levels, the more possibility you had to get COVID.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And I knew this from day one. So everybody was living in my house. My son, my daughter, my other daughter, with her husband and the baby.
Oh, wow.
And so of course I'm going to Clark's every day where everyone's coming in sick.
Yeah.
Right. And so I don't want to come home, and they were like hanging out at the house and doing whatever they're doing. So I'm like, everyone's going to have vitamin D. It's every day. It's going to happen. Couldn't get them to do cod liver oil, but ultimately we got them to do vitamin D.
Okay.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah,
no,
gummies,
it becomes
the vitamin D gummies.
Yeah, and of course that makes it so much easier, right?
Yeah.
But clinically significant also for mortality rates. The lower the vitamin D, or the more vitamin D deficient somebody is, like if it's under 50 nanoliters or whatever is or nanomoles per liter, those individuals were clinically more significant to be able to have complications from COVID or other viruses.
Wow.
Yeah. Good moment. Here comes winter.
Yes. Oh,
Make
yeah.
sure the vitamin D levels are good. Take some cod liver oil. Got two options to make it taste good and make it happen.
And so there's all these different options too.
All sorts of fun
Oils.
options. Oils, and of course we have isolated vitamin D and stuff like that. But I was also talking about fish oils as well as a vegan vegetarian source of omega-3s that are,
yeah.
yes, because remember the fish eat the algae. The algae is where they get the DHA and the EPA, and they eat other different types. So bypass the fish and go right to the algae, and there we roll.
There you go.
Yeah.
So it's like algae, an algae pill.
And you know what? This tastes.
Algae supplement.
This tastes. You ready for this?
Yeah.
You want to try this?
Do I want to?
Okay.
I don't know. Do I?
You know what?
Maybe
Why
not.
not? We're here, right?
Why not?
So this is capsule. I brought the capsules with me, all right? So what we're going to do is we're going to pop this open. I'm literally going to take one of these capsules. We're going to pop it open. We're going to put it, sorry, I'm going to chew it.
Yeah, it's okay.
Okay?
Start opening it.
We're going to put it on here, all right?
Oh, you're gonna mix it.
I'm going to mix it in. Now we've got
Okay.
cod liver oil in here. We've got almond butter. So this is the algae oil. And it also has with it ahi flour, not to be confused with ahi tuna. All right?
I heard you saying that from the other side
All right.
of the studio.
So ultimately, what ends up with this particular product as well too is it ends up being like a vegan vegetarian source. There's some vitamin D in there mixed in, so it almost gives you like a vegan cod liver oil. Completely tasteless.
Yeah.
No difference whatsoever. Great product. Cool moment.
Yeah, it just takes a sec because it's almond butter.
Yeah.
I get fucked right away.
Yeah.
After I take a bite, I'm like,
It's like the glue on the mouth,
exactly.
right?
It's like glue, exactly.
Can you say
really
something?
good.
Can you say like, I don't know, something fast, like 10 times after eating that? Right?
No, probably not.
All right.
Awesome. Well,
Thanks
you.
for jumping on, helping us
appreciate
out.
it, yeah.
Appreciate it. Thanks, Jessica.
Make sure I get some of that stuff.
Yeah, I'll hook you up. All right. Thanks, guys, for watching another episode. See you soon.